Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's SANS webcast, 5 Reasons Why CSPM is Not Enough, sponsored by Skyhawk Security. My name is Mary Langolier of SANS. Today's featured speakers are Chen Burshan, CEO of Skyhawk Security, and Jennifer Gill, VP of Product Marketing at Skyhawk. If during the webcast you have any questions for our presenters, please enter them into the Q&A window at any time. Please note that this webcast is being recorded, and a copy of the slides and recording of this webcast will be available for viewing later today and can be found on the SANS registration page. And with that, I'd like to hand the webcast over to our presenters.
Thank you. So as Mary Lynn mentioned, we'll be talking about 5 reasons why CSPM is not enough. I'm Jennifer Gill, VP of Product Marketing here at Skyhawk, and I'm joined by Chen Burshan, our CEO. So the agenda for this webinar, so I'm going to go through introductions. We'll go through 5 reasons why CSPM is not enough, and we have some poll questions sprinkled in there for you. And we'll talk about how to effectively augment CSPM so you get that prevention and detection. And we'll talk about Skyhawk security. So first, I'd like to thank Chen for doing this webinar with me today. Chen, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me with you today, Jennifer.
So Chen is our illustrious CEO, and he's not just a great boss, but you're also want to hear from him because he has over 25 years in technology leadership positions, 10 years in leading successful security companies. He was the GM at Dome9, which was later acquired by Checkpoint Software, and he has 24 patents. I have over 20 years of high-tech product marketing experience, with 5 years specifically in security product marketing, and I've held leadership positions at Zerto, Commvault, and Pegasystems. Actually, I forgot. We are going to go to our first 2 poll questions. So poll question number 1. There we go. So this, we just wanted to get an idea of what kind of security tools you're using right now. Okay, so cloud native leading the way. All right, still cloud native with almost half. Give it a couple more seconds. Okay, we're about the 1 minute mark. So, all right, and there are results. And then we're going to throw a poll question number 2. So, and this is the only time they'll be back to back. So, Mary Lynn, can we get poll question number 2, please? There we go. Okay, and this is just to give us an idea of how many alerts that you typically get, or I guess they're active in your environment right now. Okay, so I'm not surprised to see more than 100 leaning the way. I am surprised to see 0, which is amazing. So we'll let this run, starting 40 seconds. We'll stop at about 1:10. So you have about 30 more seconds to answer. Ken, anything jumping out at you about the poll question since we have 15 seconds until it ends?
No, I'm curious to see the results.
Yeah. Surprised that there are zeros? I'm surprised that there are zeros.
I am.
Yeah. All right. So there we are, 1:10. So there we go. Okay. Thank you so much for answering those poll questions. Okay, so first reason is not all misconfigurations can be fixed. And this is something that we've seen in data. Actually, I saw it in another SANS webinar that they shared a data point around through 2026, non-patchable attack surfaces will grow from less than 10% to more than half of your total exposure, reducing the impact of automated remediation practices. Kathan, I know this is something that you've seen in your experience as well.
Correct. And actually, we've just seen it in the poll answers as well, right?
That's right.
Even though majority of the participants implemented a tool for posture management and cloud security, only very little actually said they were able to achieve perfect posture in their view. The majority have more than 100. And this is really, really prevalent with a lot of customers we're talking with. Some of it might be architectural reasons. There are some posture issues that are inherent to the application. Some might be due to dependencies or legacy constraints. And some of it is just the time that it takes to fix some of these misconfigurations and vulnerabilities in the environment. It's really, really prevalent to see customers doing an immense effort to address misconfigurations, but the truth reality is that not all of them can be fixed, and most customers will have issues to address in their environment.
Okay, so reason number 2 is 85% of breaches are not caused by misconfigurations. So there are threat actors that are lying in wait in your environment. They're able to compromise permissions and phishing emails and things like that won't be prevented by the CSPM. And this is different from when you were at Dome 9, these numbers.
Correct. So when you know, in early days of the CSPM market, and I'm talking, 2015 till later days, we used to hear that by 2023, which is more or less now, 99% of the incidents in the cloud will be the customer's fault. That was kind of the common statement, which was a different way to say majority of the cases will be a result of a misconfiguration. What we see today is that these numbers are really, really down. And 85% of the breaches are not caused by a misconfiguration. Some of it is thanks to us being in this market for many years and many customers adopting posture management tools and addressing risk reduction. And that's a great progress in the market. But some of it is, again, it's inherent to the fact that a breach or an attack does not have to exploit a misconfiguration. Some of it is, we saw statistics talking about 100,000 SSRF incidents happening last year. These are people that are doing everything they can to make sure that they have perfect posture almost, or as much as they can, and still attackers are able to exploit vulnerabilities or to use credentials that leaked to basically infiltrate an environment and create incidents. So not all of the events are related to misconfigurations. In fact, most of them are bad actors just utilizing whatever they can to infiltrate your cloud infrastructure.
Yeah, exactly. And we're actually going to hit poll question number 3 before we move on. So Marilyn, if you can get that up, please. There we go. So we saw how many alerts are active, and then we'd love to learn how many alerts you're able to resolve. And we'll go to a minute 10 again. So, and I'm kind of, based on what we've seen, not a surprise at all to see 5 or less, because they can't all be fixed. It's difficult. So people getting to more than 20, good job. That's great.
We probably should have asked how many people are on the staff as well, because that
Yeah.
should be correlated to. We're limited by the number of questions we can ask, but we
Yeah.
should correlate that.
Yeah.
So
All
curious,
right.
those that are doing more than 20, if you can somehow communicate how many people are on the staff, that will be interesting. On
Oh,
the
yeah.
tech
Very good.
DevOps stuff, that will be
Okay.
interesting.
Great. All right.
So we see the majority 5 or less.
Yep.
And then definitely the vast majority is 10 or less.
Yes, for sure. Which we expected. Okay. So moving on to number 3. And we hit a little bit on this already, but 100% compliant is not 100% secure. So even though you're following best practices, this is all important and you should absolutely still do it. But this does not prevent threat actors from getting into your environment. And we see this all the time.
Right. And it's also related to the question we just asked and the poll results, because compliance means you have the tools and procedures and the fact that you are following up to make sure that you're reducing risk and that you have all the audits in place. But that doesn't mean you're 100% secure. And as we can see, still with even with the audience we have here, the majority have more than 100 alerts in the environment. They cannot fix more than 5 or 10 every week. So they are catching up all the time. Compliance is important. We're making a huge effort into making sure that we're compliant, but just having the tools and procedures and putting the effort in does not mean you get to be 100% secure, either because bad actors will infiltrate your environment through the methods we mentioned earlier, or just because it takes time to get to this perfect posture. Time and an immense effort.
Yes. Okay. And then this is something we see a lot. An attack is not a single event. It's not, they did this one thing and now you're breached. And I think this makes it hard for people to know what a breach looks like. And do they recognize that, gee, this typically dormant permission is accessing all these APIs again and again, and all these calls are failing. And that can mean that, you know, someone that is not supposed to be there is using that permission. And this is something that we think is really important in Skyhawk, and making sure you look at all the events that are related to the attack.
Correct. Look at them and correlate them, and that's the heart of our product. In fact, the reason we created the technology in Skyhawk Security was because we saw that an attack, the statistics basically say that an attack is usually dormant in a customer's environment over 200 days before the attacker reaches the crown jewels or their target. And the other stunning data point is that in more than 50% of the cases, it's the threat actor that is actually revealing themselves, and they were not detected earlier by any system. So with the long time they are, and APT is basically progressing in the environment, and the fact that more than 50% are not detected before basically the attacker will post something on Twitter or embarrass us in a different way. That is basically the heart of why we think that our product should basically allow you to correlate all these events, all the APTs, all the different steps that an attacker takes in your environment, and make sure that you can see this single event, see them as a single event, see them as a single incident, and correlate all the different steps. Because usually there will be more than one. And another data point that is interesting, even from this webinar, we see people that are using other tools, some of them even for CDR. Most of them are alerting on a per single incident, but it's still very, very hard to correlate them into the attack story and understand if there is a real incident in your cloud environment versus just an innocent anomaly that happens as part of the usual business.
Yeah, and I think that's why looking at the correlation is so important. So you're not following up on all these one-off anomalies because they are many times just innocent. Okay, and then our last reason. So it's not dynamic or static, it's dynamic and static. It isn't just that the misconfiguration exists. You can have a port open for 3 weeks, but if no one's used it, yes, it should not be open, but no one's used it, so you really have not been hurt. But what you want to know is, gee, did someone get into that port last week and exfiltrate data or access a resource or do something else? So that's why you need to have all the information, because the pieces are not enough. And this sort of relates to the previous point, but it's the putting those two things together.
Correct. And many of the risk management tools are there in order to reduce risk, but they're dealing with a static analysis of the environment. What could potentially go wrong? And we see many of the CSPM players also talk about it. They try to give you what can go wrong potentially. We see the market starting to move towards observability, dynamically monitoring the environment and seeing if something is really going wrong, if there is a real attack in the environment. So statically analyzing the environment for potential risk, it's important. And it's a fundamental capability that needs to be there, but it's table stakes. You have, because you cannot fix all the misconfigurations as we can see, and because there are many of them in your environment anyway, and you can only reduce the risk at the pace of 5 a week when you have hundreds open, you need to have observability into your environment and measuring what's going on in the environment while you're still addressing risk reduction.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And now we're going to have our last poll question number 4. Wanted to let everyone know that it is the last one. So we can get that one up. Marilyn, do you have the poll question? Number 4?
Having trouble launching it.
Okay. All right.
So maybe Jennifer, while we're trying to pull this question, let's try to illustrate the difference between CSPM and CDR, and then we can go back to the question.
Yep, that sounds perfect. All right. So take it away, Han.
Yeah. So I think that to recap the way we see the market evolving, and have the pleasure of being there for over a decade and see the needs and pains. Oh, here's the poll question. So I'll stop here for a second.
Okay, so it was basically which of the previous 5, the 5 points that we made, which one do you think is the most relevant? We'll leave this one open. We'll do a little shorter since we're we'll do 45 seconds. So you have 30 more seconds. So I am surprised with the results because I really thought it would be number 1, because we've heard from prospects and customers that they're like, yeah, we'll go in and fix something, and then our DevOps team will start messaging us that, hey, we're not able to do this work today. What did you do? And so those are the misconfigurations that you need to live with to ensure the productivity of your DevOps team. So I really thought it would be number 1. Okay, we're just about a minute, so we can close out the poll. Thank you so much, Marilyn. Perfect. Thank you. All right, Han, over to you.
Very good. So again, to recap the kind of what we see in CSPM versus CDR and why we think the market is ready to advance towards observability. If you think about your cloud infrastructure as your asset, as your home, is the most important thing you want to keep secure and closed, right? You basically make sure that your house is secured and locked, right? That windows are closed, that the door is locked, right? And that's what CSPM will help you do. It will help you make sure your environment is locked and secured. Basically, if we think about sorry, there's something jumping here. Basically, if you think about CDR would be the motion detection system. It will be the the alarm system. It will be the security cameras in your home. Once you keep your door locked and windows closed, that will be the system that will detect if someone broke in, if there is someone trying to make their way to your safe, to your jewels, to your crown jewels, basically, and alert you on that. And I'm sure all of you will agree, while you keep your door locked and windows closed, you still have an alarm system making sure that your house wasn't broken into. And that's, in a way, CSPM versus CDR. You want to make sure that everything is properly configured. You still need to have observability and monitoring to make sure that no one broke in.
Yeah, and although here we're positioning them one versus the other, you still need both. Like, you're not going to get an alarm and then leave your door open. You still need both.
And essentially, that's what we're providing at Skyhawk Security. Our synthesis platform is essentially providing a single platform for both risk management and runtime protection with CDR. We make sure that we provide observability of the environment and provide you alerts should someone break into your environment and try to either steal data or run assets on your bill. And we accompany that with CSPM to reduce risk management and entitlement management, basically to reduce the risk around identity management, the risk that comes from proper management of permissions or least privileges approaches. So by reducing risk of configuration and reducing risk related to identity management, we're able to address both risk and observability, and we do it across AWS, Azure, GCP, and Kubernetes. The way the system works is basically think about our synthesis platform as a hub of multiple telemetries. We collect information from logs, events from different systems. We're basically collecting data from multiple systems that are part of your cloud environment. We then go and enrich this data and correlate it in order to build a baseline of how the environment is behaving on a normal day-to-day during peacetime. And based on that, we would then detect malicious activity or suspicious activity that is potentially malicious. And we will basically clear the noise, remove the clutter, and allow you to focus on these events that are actually suspicious in the environment and correlate them into a single storyline that provides you the attack storyline and how an APT progressed in the environment. All of that with all the evidences that are needed to analyze the incident and reduce the mean time to respond and react to it efficiently. So basically, to recap, we get into the environment, we learn it, we create the baseline, we actively monitor it for suspicious activity, identify malicious behavior indicators, correlate them into an attack storyline, and allow you to respond automatically or with assisted remediation within a very short time by providing all the evidences and all the events in one place. The other way to explain what we're doing is, in the differences between CSPM and CDR, is think about CSPM if we're trying to kind of make the analogy of a navigation application. Think about CSPM as the map, all the different roads that exist towards your crown jewels. And CDR is basically providing the route on that map. We basically tell you how a bad actor is progressing over the different routes towards your crown jewels, going from over the map, over the different roads to basically get to where they want to get and either exfiltrate data or use your account in order to ride on your bill basically and use it. Jennifer.
Yes. So let's go real quick demo. So I think one of the things that Chen was just getting at was around the use of assets for crypto mining and things like that. So let's take a look at the overall environment. So here you can see we have two cloud accounts. We have AWS and Azure. You can see the number of alerts. We have just 6 compared to other accounts. And you can see the exposed assets over time, excessive permissions, compliance over time. So this is basically like the overall health of your security environment. It gives you an idea of where to get started. So we're going to start with threat detection. So the 6 alerts that were indicated on the previous user interface. So here, these are the correlated attack sequence that we want to take a look at. So we're going to look at the communication into crypto mining. Oops, let me scroll a bit. There we go. So here you see each of the assets or users, and then the activity that happened. Those are the MBIs. Each of these bubbles represent an MBI. And then you can see how they progressed to the next step. So everything is correlated here within the environment. So if we take a look at this, the anomalous AWS usage, we can see some things that are kind of interesting to us. So these APIs were called, and that's the first time they were used. That's interesting. And then we see there are other API calls, and they've never been used before by this user. So that's something else that they want to take a look at. And we see that throughout all of these MBIs. It gives you a little bit of detail so you can understand, gee, what happened, what's going on. So it gives you all of the evidence that you need within the attack storyline to figure out how this threat actor got in, how they move throughout the environment, so you know what you need to correct. You know what the issue is at hand. So I personally like this view, the correlated sequence, but there are some people who prefer the table view, and we provide that as well. So you can see all the MBIs, see what, get a little bit more detail, and you can see exactly what happened in the environment.
And to maybe just to make sure we explain it a little bit further, every anomalous behavior that was shown during the demo is usually an alert by anomaly detection systems, every API that was used for the first time. The fact that we are combining them here into a single alert, it's basically taking what would usually be 20, 30 alerts in a normal system where you need to build the storyline on your own and correlate them on your own. It's all given here, and it's all basically placed in one place so that you can see the storyline, see the progress, and all the evidence you need in one place.
Yeah, thank you, Han. That's perfect. So yes, I think the fact that this would be, I counted 9, I think. So 9 alerts, and then figuring out that it was just Catherine Brown executing all those. Definitely much more powerful. And it gives you a picture of what's actually happening. Okay, so if we go back to the dashboard, I'm going to go. The other things, so since we mentioned CSPM, and I know we say CSPM is not enough, but we still think you need CSPM at Skyhawk. And we have some capabilities in our product. So here, if you take a look, you can see them as configurations, the exposures, the permissions. We also have compliance reports. Sorry, there we go. I'm going to launch this one. There we go. So the AWS foundation reports, these are best practices that are recommended for AWS. So here you can see the compliance checks. You can see what failed. So monitoring and networking compliance checks, 100% of those failed, and that's where you want to focus your efforts. And you can also see which are the most problematic accounts. So this is a demo environment, so there's just one. But in your environment, you see the top 5. And then you can see within each of these buckets, all the individual checks. Anything that's red is something you want to take a look at. So we mentioned the logging, the monitoring, the networking. And if you go all the way up to the top, it was the identity and access management. So taking it back to the dashboard. So I will say it's a very easy dashboard. That's one of the things that I like about the platform, is that I feel like if I can do a demo and kind of understand how things are working, then it makes it a lot easier for everybody else as well. So we're going to go back to the presentation and back to, there we go. Okay, so that was a really short demo. We would love to hear from you if you would like a longer demo. So please go to skyhawk.security and we have a contact us form. We would love to hear from you. So we just have a couple more slides to close out the webinar, and then we'd be happy to take any questions you might have. So here are just a few ways we can help you. So the first is eliminate the alert fatigue with the attack sequences. And I think you saw that in the demo, right? Honey even pointed out on the MBI for anomalous API usage. That was one MBI versus getting 9 separate alerts. You understand what's going on. That is this one person executing these 9 suspicious and malicious events. The threat detection provides a layer of security on top of CSPM and KIM from the misconfigurations that can't be fixed. There are some things you're going to have to live with, so that's why you really need the observability of what's going on in the environment. Reduce the time to detect and time to respond. So we've seen threat actors lying in wait for over 200 days. We had one customer environment where we were able to detect everything in minutes. We were able to see the threat actors and their behavior in just a few minutes. It's really powerful. And then as it is a single platform that supports AWS, Azure, GCP, and Kubernetes, so you have one consistent solution for all your other cloud platforms. So this is going to make your security team much more productive and less prone to make mistakes, because how they find a threat actor in GCP is going to be exactly the same as how they do it in AWS. So think about the consistency and simplicity of your security team to using the same platform for all these different environments. And then lastly, before I close out, so we do have a free CSPM offering. So it's for up to 1,000 assets in your environment. We, again, think CSPM is important and everyone should have access to it. And that's why we have this free tier. This is a foundational capability that everybody needs for prevention. Everybody needs to be able to lock their doors and close their windows. So we're providing that for free for up to 1,000 assets. So I am going to say thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. We really appreciate it. I'm going to stop the share so you can see kind of myself a little bit better while we take a few questions. So I am going to start with, okay, so one thing you didn't hit on the environment and the presentation heavily was permissions. So Chen, do we monitor permissions and their use in any way? You're on mute, Chen.
Yes, we do, and that's part of the cloud entitlement management system we mentioned. We do monitor permissions and their usage and allow customers to achieve least privileges policies in their environment.
Great. Okay, and we have another question that came in. So with regards to CSPM, does this platform do any sort of automatic remediation for the misconfigurations or items out of compliance?
Yes, we do. It's an excellent question. So yes, we do automatic remediation, and we also do assisted remediation. So we see customers basically telling us there are some trivial rules or guardrails we want to have, and those are basically, these are misconfigurations that are never allowed, and we want you to basically automatically remediate them. And there are others where they want us to alert them and have assisted remediation, where we basically tell them how to fix it, but they would be the ones kind of pushing the button to trigger the fix. So we have both. And by the way, we have it for both CSPM and CDR. So that once there is an event going on, you can basically click a button and have the required steps to lock down the environment, automated.
Great. Okay, we have 2 more questions. So if anyone wants to answer them, get them in quick. So this one is, what are MBIs and how did you create them?
So basically, MBIs are malicious behavior indicators. These are suspicious events in the environment that are created based on our machine learning models. They are extremely sophisticated and they allow us to basically build a model that is tuned per customer to their environment and baseline behavior and see any deviation from it. So every suspicious event will be accumulated and added to the attack storyline, as we showed earlier, and provide the evidence so that we can provide you this one attack storyline alert with all the suspicious and malicious events in it.
Can you mention models a little bit? How many models are created across the environment?
So we basically have models that are created per customer. The models in the environment are being created and automatically updated daily per customer.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that. So I speak with our data science team a lot to kind of really get into how we create these models and understand at what level and things like that. And I'm just blown away. They're like, yeah, we update these models every day for customers. We look at the data. We're constantly training these models to make sure that we're alerting accurately. And it's fascinating to hear from them. So I don't have any more. Oh, one more question. So I don't know that someone's asking what makes our product really different.
So I think the main thing would be the way we take these hundreds or tens or hundreds of events that are happening in the environment and create the real attack story alert based on them. If you deploy an anomaly detection CDR tool in your environment, you will get tens or hundreds of events. And as we showed in the demo, the ability to basically reduce the noise, correlate only the related events, and provide a single composite alert over the attack storyline. All of it correlated with all the evidence in one place is really what makes us unique. This is a functionality that you don't really see in any other product.
Okay, great. So there are no more open questions. So I guess thank you for joining us today. Thank you for answering our poll questions, and thank you for the patience with the fourth poll question, which we had a little issue launching. Chen, great to do a webinar with you. It's been a while.
Thank you very much. Enjoyed it greatly, and thanks for the great questions.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Chen and Jennifer, for your great presentation, and to Skyhawk Security for sponsoring this webcast, which helps to bring this content to the SANS community. To our audience, we greatly appreciate you listening in. For a schedule of all upcoming and archived SANS webcasts, including this one, please visit sans.org/webcasts. Until next time, take care, and we hope to have you back again for the next SANS webcast.